on the beat.
The basement had been one of probably the most active places we felt in Maxwell Mansion. So we went down there one more time toward the end of our investigation for one last session. And at this time, Nick and I got down there first, and then Hal followed up a few minutes later. Ryan, by then, had to get going, so it was just the three of us doing kind of a final session down in the speakeasy area. We put the recorder and the K2 meter on a table against the wall behind us while we played some blackjack, which we did a couple times throughout the night, kind of like a trigger to see if we could get some activity. So as I was listening to the audio for the evidence, just a few minutes into our session, there was definitely a voice that was not ours. Didn't know where it came from. We did capture something pretty interesting on our audio within the first few minutes.
The camera will just
13,
hang out for a half hour,
16,
see if
12.
we get anything.
Alright.
We'll be done if we don't.
Lance.
Hit me.
We continued to get activity during this session, and you know, a few times we mentioned that, you know, we didn't know if we were just talking to nobody, if they were responding. You know, we didn't really know at the time, so we were just kind of winging it. And we actually got another voice just a few minutes later, but this time it actually said a word.
No. I think you busted twice.
Think we should try the attic again, or no?
No. Waste of time, man.
If you look at it a little bit closer, Hal is asking if we should go back to the attic one more time before we leave. And just about as soon as we're going to say no, the spirit also says no. Whether they're telling us not to go to the attic and to stay there, we don't really know. But it's pretty clear that they're saying no in a long, drawn-out breath.
Think we should try the attic again, or no?
No. No. No.
So when we go through evidence, you know, we watch the video, the whole video, and we listen to the video as well. And oftentimes there's dust particles, there's potential bugs, there's all kinds of things kind of going and floating through the screen. And you really have to, as a paranormal investigator, decipher, you know, what can be paranormal and what probably isn't. You know, a lot of the times it's probably not paranormal. It's just something floating around, whatever the case is, even hair. But every now and then when you watch the tape, something catches your eye that is unlike what you just watched for the last however many minutes. And such is the case with the next piece of evidence. What happens first is Nick notices the K2 meter hit a couple of times, go from 2 lights to 3 lights to 2 lights to 1, kind of fluctuates back and forth, and he mentions it.
There's some light. I just popped a 3. 2 and then a 3.
And then about 6-7 seconds later, you see this odd looking, if you want to call it an orb, come from behind the bar, go right to Hal, basically, pause for a second or two, and then shoot right off toward the K2 meter and our recorder and everything sitting over on that table. To me, the most interesting part about this, I think, was the fact that it just like paused. You know, if it were a bug, usually bugs don't pause midair, they're just kind of floating around. And the fact that we got a K2 hit literally 6-7 seconds right before this, you know, this orb, you know, you could make the argument that, you know, there was some kind of energy in the air in these few seconds that created the K2 to hit, and that orb to potentially maybe cause that hit.
Do you want to come a little closer? Why don't you come this way?
This next piece of evidence might be one of my favorites of the evening. It actually, I think, if we look back, might be one of our best we've had in quite some time. So this all happens in a time period of maybe 15 seconds, if not less. First, we get a voice, and the voice it's pretty obvious what the voice is saying.
I was like, that was us. We were all moving.
So just a few seconds later, if you watch behind Hal, once again, you'll see this very distinct orb show up almost out of nowhere and then disappear as it's going toward Hal. Here's the kicker though, we didn't know it at first, but when we slowed down the orb right behind Hal and kept the audio on and also slowed down the audio, we actually realized that there was a voice exactly when the orb manifests and disappears. That it lines up absolutely perfect. Not only that, but what the voice says is really significant because we feel like there's a spirit trying to communicate with us. So take a listen. So when you combine the EVP that says clear, and then a few seconds later, this orb is seen, it kind of shows up out of nowhere, right behind Hal, with the voice exactly when the orb appears saying, "We're here." That aligns with an intelligent spirit who is trying to communicate, and not only that, they use the plural, "we're here," so obviously there's probably more than one spirit there.
That's a 15, son. Last card.
The cherry on top is the final piece of evidence for the evening. So far we've only heard a male voice, pretty much the same one the entire time, except when we are literally about to leave the downstairs. We hear a female voice telling us to do something.
End EVP session. Adios. This
Thank
was your
you.
chance.
Thank you for your time.
So when we look at this 25-minute EVP session to end the evening, quick summary is we have audio, we have video, we have the K2 hits. We got all this stuff without really us knowing until we went through the evidence that we were getting interaction. It's a male and a female, at least, if not more. And the male seems to want to interact while the female seems like she is not having any of it and potentially wants us to go. But either way, it was a successful EVP session to end our time at Maxwell Mansion.
Hang out for a half hour.
16,
See if we get
12.
anything.
Think we should try the attic again, or no?
No. I was like, that was us. We were all moving. Okay.
Right,
Okay. That's tough. That's tough.
Not with the 10 showing though. End EVP session. Audition.
on the beat.